all family in the building.
Family is in the building. Look at Robin.
Man,
I'm trying to hold it down for the ladies, guys.
You look lovely.
Robin,
thank you
so much.
You're killing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should just put myself on mute and let y'all go. Thank you so much.
We can.
So dope.
We can keep going.
Put yourself on mute. Let us go, man.
That's right.
Right now, man.
I know you ain't get dressed up for us, Robin. I feel underdressed now.
No, it's a part of feeling in the mood. You know, like I always ask people if they put on like cologne or perfume for a Zoom.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a thing. Sometimes you do it just to
It's
feel like
true.
you're showing up.
It's
a
true.
vibe. It's a vibe.
What song? What song was playing for you while you were getting ready today? What song was blasting while you were getting dressed?
I actually had the playlist of Her.
Ooh.
I had Her's playlist. Yeah, so it was totally a vibe. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, we can tell. We can tell.
It showed up today. You know, and so I had the music. I invited God in, you know what I'm saying? A little meditation, a little workout. I had a whole thing.
Listen, we can tell, Robin, you look incredible.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much. I wanted to be sure to show up because I knew that I was going to be in the midst of all you amazing men who I have to say, y'all have been absolutely killing it on this show. And you know, as a matter of fact, why don't we just go ahead and get into it? Because I know the viewers are so happy that we have all of the guys on the show today. You know what? Let me go ahead and yes. You know what? We missed it. We missed it in episode we didn't miss it. We just put it on hold, but we are back. And for those of you who are ready, I already see Katina. She says she's ready for tonight. Let me go ahead and welcome Derek, Philip. We've got Deji and Thomas in the building. You guys, you already know them as the amazing, handsome men of Johnson on Bounce TV. Man. Welcome back to hanging out with me on the show, you guys. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here with me. And
definitely.
There is so much to unpack. Y'all already know what it is. There's so much to get into.
Who we starting with, Omar? Who we start with? Huh? Who we start with?
Goodness gracious!
Why you say Omar first?
I'm waiting for Omar. Omar, we got some stuff for him.
Yeah, Omar got to do some talking.
Get him! Get him!
I know you ain't. Neither one of y'all, Greg and Jarvis. I know y'all not talking.
I'm gonna shut up.
Get him till you do right by me.
Oh, that is so good. You better speak up for Keith. That's right. Speak up for Keith. Keith, he got some questions. Mm-hmm. Okay, but listen, I actually want to jump in because, you know, obviously Omar's character is going to be in the hot seat. So, Thomas, we definitely want to hear from you on that. Yes, Katina said Omar got some splaining to do. He sure does. But, yeah, let me start off by delving into something. Deji, I want to give you some props real quick. You know, you have done a fantastic job in creating this show. And you know what I noticed? Is that on every single controversial topic, there's always another side. There's an opposing opinion. It's never just one-sided, and I love that because it gives way to a topic, to a talking conversation, you know. Yeah, and so one of the main ones that we touched on, obviously, we're going to talk about the big fight, you know, because that's been brewing. But let's talk about specifically young Black boys. And for this particular instance, you guys have used the Water Boys in Atlanta. It's so fitting because you guys were out there. It's a big topic right now. They broke into your car, and that is a thing. On one hand, you got them doing something positive, being entrepreneurial, but then on the flip side, they go ahead and dog you out, another Black man, and break into your car. But you guys are all opposed to that. You guys have different sides of that. So let's open up that conversation and what it's like for how you feel about it. Young Black men calling the police on them or not.
Yeah. I mean, to your point about having different perspectives on the show, you know, a lot of the things that we tackle on the show are controversial topics, hot button issues in our community and in other communities as well. I wanted to make sure that this show is very balanced. So we took a lot of time in making sure with all the dialogue that, you know, anybody who had an opinion or perspective in the general public on certain things, that their voice will be heard, as well. Hey, Bria, we can see you. And also, too, I think we can hear somebody. If you guys can mute your mics. Yeah, we can hear. There we go. But yeah, so I think it's very important to show a balance. Specifically with the Water Boys, it's a very divided topic in Atlanta. If you live in the city, you know exactly who the Water Boys are. They hang out at on the freeway overpasses. They hang out, at stoplights, and at times, people feel like they can get a little bit overly aggressive. And I think it just kind of depends on what you've experienced when it comes to them and how you view them. Me personally, I respect the fact that they are out here doing something positive, doing something productive.
Yeah.
And then other people can say they shouldn't be out here, they should be in school, they should be furthering themselves in another way. And I understand all those different perspectives. I just wanted to make sure that the conversation was balanced. If you agree with this side of the topic, you can hear this other argument, and you can understand that point as being valid, so we can find some sort of common ground. As far as this very specific topic of them breaking into the car and Greg not calling the police, nobody was injured, nobody was hurt. We all did stupid things as kids. I think everybody on this Zoom has done something that warranted being in more trouble than we were when we were kids, when we were young adolescents. And so we lose sight of that. I think as we get older, we lose sight of that. And I think, specifically on the basketball court, you had Jarvis's character who actually stole a starter jacket from Foot Locker, and he wanted to call the police on these guys. So I want Jarvis to answer that question.
Yes.
Like, why would you do that? Why would you contradict yourself? Why would you be a hypocrite and want to call the police on these young men?
Hey, first of all, the starter jacket was different, but we're not going to. Let me tell you this. I think this is Jarvis' point of view, though, for real, is that, listen, a lot of times it's these little mistakes that build into something else. And Jarvis' perspective is that he'd rather them get some consequences and some correction at that age versus getting it as a man. We already know how, the police are and how what we have to as Black men have to deal with when it comes to the police for the majority. So I think Jarvis' perspective is like, let them get this consequence, let them get scared straight now. And so that way they can make some corrections. And as they become men, they can learn from that and not do the same things.
I get that. But I'm going to say this. Greg's perspective, or my perspective personally, is there another level of those consequences? Is there somebody who can mentor these kids? Is there somebody who, a parent or somebody in the community who can say, hey, this is the wrong path, this is the right path? Some sort of consequence that doesn't involve the system. It doesn't involve the police. It doesn't involve giving them criminal records or potentially having them end up in, some sort of juvenile hall that will further them down this dark path. So the subject is very controversial. I understand both perspectives for sure. But the whole point is just to open the conversation up even further.
For dialogue.
Also, what I think is really interesting is, right now we live in a society where everybody wants to see progress on some level, but what we don't always ask ourselves is, what is that progress at an expense to me? Like, what if that progress is at a personal expense, right? In Greg's case, he decided to see the larger perspective and be like, you know what? No, this is what could be if we just let them have a chance instead of being affected by something that happened personally to him. Not everyone's going to do that automatically. Like, if someone broke into my car and stole something, I might have a gut reaction, an instinct reaction to call the cops on him and not even think about what Greg thought about. So it's really it speaks to the character that, people are able to do it. And that's something that you hope more people will be enlightened to when they see this.
Absolutely.
I know this is a specific topic that we're talking about with the Water Boys, but that's just a representation of a much larger systemic thing that we're talking about and dealing with in our society today. So it's just very interesting. And what I found specifically interesting is that we're Black men talking about what we would do, calling the police or not calling the police.
Yeah.
So that amongst our community is something that we haven't really talked about much, because let's talk about, Jarvis kind of going toward the fight that you guys have had, because Greg called him out. Now it hits fan, right?
Right.
Because he feels. Tell me. Well, no, I'm not even going to put words in your mouth. Deja, you tell me, how does Greg feel about Jarvis's character in Is he just not relatable anymore? Has he lost sight of where he's come from, or has he evolved, in your opinion, Darius? But I want to hear from you, Deji.
Yeah. I think, with any situation like that, the blow up that happened in episode 6 is always a culmination of a lot of different things. It's a time period that's been going on that Greg has been feeling like, Jarvis's his energy, the way he carries himself, his belief system has changed from the Jarvis that he knew, and I think, obviously Greg, has some growing to do himself with it. He can accept the Water Boys, but it's hard for him to accept Jarvis. You know what I'm saying?
Boy. Yeah.
I get it. I get the hypocrisy. I get the contradiction. But at the same time, I think, Greg feels like his way is the right way. His way is the real way. His way is the way that's more beneficial to his people. And that's what separates Greg's character from Jarvis's character. So the fight wasn't just about Lisa specifically. The fight wasn't just about the interracial relationship. The fight was about, him politically having different views. The fight was about how he carries himself, how he talks, just the differences that he's seen from the Jarvis that he used to know years ago before he went to college. And I think that's frustrated Greg to the point to where, he just keeps pushing Jarvis's buttons, and Jarvis wasn't having it no more.
Yeah.
Derek, from your perspective?
I mean, from Jarvis's perspective, it's like, listen, we're brothers. So if you got something to say something to them. But he, Greg has been, and that's what Jarvis is used to. It's interesting because Jarvis's point of view is that we both have shifted in some ways, because the Greg he knows is someone that is blunt, doesn't hold his tongue, and tells you how it is. Yet over time, he's been throwing these little jabs and these little hints. And Jarvis is kind of like, I'm gonna let it ride. It's okay, I get it. But at that point, he kind of was just like, yo, now you didn't touched on, life. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been talking about life, but now you're talking about my life partner. And so now we got to get into it. And Jarvis just wasn't having it anymore. He was going to start sharing the things that he had on his heart. So he's like, listen, if we're going to get into it, then let's get into it. And I think what that whole scene was about, past the anger and the frustration, and I'm tired of you jabbing at me. It was like, out of everybody, how dare you judge me like the world? Because you got to understand, Greg was the first one that met Jarvis. Greg introduced Omar and Keith to Jarvis. So he's like, if anybody's going to have my back, anyone's going to pull me aside, it would be you. So there was a lot of pain and hurt that came out of that just had to be dealt with.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jarvis. I'm sorry, man. I apologize.
I mean, because y'all got down. But Thomas, let me hear from you from Omar's perspective. You can kind of see, and Philip, you can jump in on this as well, because both Keith and Omar kind of of course, you guys were breaking up the fight. What y'all were breaking up the fight. Of course, y'all were saying stuff, but y'all were looking at Greg. Y'all gave him your answer, what you felt, by just giving him a certain look. Yep. And Keith was like, all right, I'm out. He was the first one to be like, I'm done. So was that your way? And is that reality? Is that how boys deal with one another when it comes to fight? Was that like a realistic type of fight?
I've seen my friends get in fights before, and it's really like, when you don't know what to do, you kind of just try to separate yourself a little bit from it. Like, it happened in college. I was just like, all right, like, this is stupid. Let's just be out for a minute, and maybe everyone can chill out. I feel like that's pretty accurate. But I also think that Keith was, Keith certainly understands both sides, because I feel like Keith is very understanding in general of his friends. But I think he also felt like, maybe Greg was a little overdoing it. Like, I think that Keith is maybe leaning a little more towards Jarvis's perspective here. And I can't say for Omar, but that's what I think about Keith.
Okay. Thomas, how about you?
Well, I think Omar and Keith are in every friend group. Everyone has different dynamics, different personalities, and that's what makes the group fun, is that everybody's not the same. So everyone thinks different, and they bring something different to the table. And I think Omar and Keith know how Greg is, and they also know how Jarvis is, and they see value in both of them. I think with this situation, Omar definitely understands what it's like being married, and this is your wife. It's not a girlfriend. It's not a fling. It's someone that you've committed your life to, because Omar's married and he's going through marital issues with his wife, and he's fighting for his marriage. So I think it was more so about him looking at Greg and saying, I understand, because even in the scene, Omar says Greg has a point to Jarvis,
Mm-hmm.
because he understands there's so many black women out here that are worthy of you as a successful black man, that you know, it's kind of hard for them to understand why you would pick someone that's not black. But at the same time, he's still our friend, and we still love him, and he still has value, and we still have history. So it's a complex situation, and I think that the way the scene was set up, the way that it was performed, I think gave a very complex, situation to how that could really play out. And I'm very, very glad that people found that and saw that in it.
Yeah. I really do hope that Greg and Jarvis are able to work this out, because obviously just for the as a viewer, you want to see all four, all of the guys get together, stay together, you want to see that. But it's interesting. And then Thomas, I think you on your Instagram post recently, you posted, I forgot the hashtag, so forgive me, but it was like inside the minds of men or something like that. Is that
Men
what you said?
Men
thinking out loud.
Men thinking out loud. Thank you very much. And you know what? I will say it again. This is literally an insight to watching the show every week. For me, has been an insight to how it is for men. Is there such a thing as well? I know that there's such a thing, but tell me within the confines of the group, do you think it's possible that maybe Jarvis has just evolved to a place where he and Greg can no longer understand one another? They can no longer even communicate with one another. Will there be some sort of something that brings them back together? I mean, I know we'll have to continue to watch the show, but
Go ahead, Daisy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, the realistic thing is, like, we all have friends that we used to be super close with, and all of a sudden we're not friends anymore, for whatever reason. And ultimately it's because two people, oftentimes they grow apart, and I think we start to see that in the later episodes. As you see episodes 8, 9, and 10, you start to understand the dynamic of the friendship a little more. But yeah, I think it's very possible for them to be at a crossroads to where they've outgrown each other, or they really need to figure out if this friendship is still serving them and they want to continue to be friends. And if it is, they have to work harder for it. Greg and Omar might not have to work as hard, but Greg and Jarvis might have to work harder. So this is a realistic look at how friendships really are. A lot of people don't have this many core friends that they've known since 8 years old. They just don't have, people grow up. So.
Yeah, you know what? There are very much so layers to this friendship, because I noticed that even within however long you guys have known each other, there's still layers to be peeled back. Like, you guys are just finding out the reason that Omar is divorcing. Is this the very first time that we're really getting a look into Thomas? Is this the first time we're talking about why it is, like, what happened? Because we want to know. Everybody wants to know. Will we get another look into, or a deeper insight into what happened with the divorce?
Yeah, this is the first time, because Omar is the character that's more discreet. We're all friends, we're all brothers, but like I said, every friend is different. And Omar's personality is very discreet. He comes from, a background where his mother and father have been married for 50 years almost, and they've been very discreet with their marriage and their, personal life. And Omar's the same way until he has to actually open up to his friends. And that's a reason why I know we want to segue into kind of what happened with Omar and Bianca. I think from a man's perspective, I think most men don't get the benefit of the doubt for being either lonely or needing something emotionally, a connection, right? I think most of the time you can connect. Women get the benefit of the doubt with that, because I think women are able to be more emotionally free and open without being judged whatsoever. It's almost expected for a woman to be able to be emotionally free. And if you're not, as a woman, it's kind of a little like odd. Versus a man, where as soon as you express your emotions, you're automatically judged, mostly in a negative light. And so at what point does the humanity in a man, is it safe to be a human as a man?
Right.
And Omar is going through a divorce. He's fighting for his marriage. He's fighting for his wife. He's fighting for his son. But there's also the need for intimacy. There's also the need to be wanted, to be loved, to be cared about, right? And clearly Bianca is a crush for Keith. He knows this. He loves Keith. That's his brother. But I think we've all been in situations where we've had a couple of drinks where we're not as rational as we would be. Someone might be more persuasive because you've had a couple of drinks than when you haven't.
Yeah.
And things happen. And that's reality. You have these codes, bro code, sister codes. You have all of these rules. But then there are certain situations where those rules are broken. Mm-hmm. And unless you have an understanding of humanity, you're not going to understand that. And a lot of times men, especially black men, don't get a pass. We don't get a pass for being human. We don't. You literally sit here and watch a man fight for his marriage and his child. And as soon as he makes a mistake or makes a bad decision, he's thrown out. It's no different than the Water Boys. They made a mistake, and Greg decided to not throw them out. But that also happens with black men as adults. We get thrown out, So I think that it's deeper than just him. I've seen comments where he's like, he knew he wanted to hang. He knew he wanted to get with Bianca. No, you literally have watched this man over the course of the season fight for his wife, fight for his son. You watched him. But how does it go from seeing that to automatically saying you knew you wanted her when she DM'd you and you didn't tell him?
Listen, that's very, very, very great. Yeah, I mean, we got to give it up because I actually have not even thought about it from that perspective, and so it's another great reason why it's good to hear from you on that. But let's keep it real about where things are going to go within the friendship, because you still got to deal with the consequences, and that's absolutely true, Thomas. I'm all jokes aside, I'm glad that you gave that insight because that's real. I don't think that men get enough credit for the emotional side of things, the affection side of things. We're only, most times we only look at the facts, right? We're like, he did wrong because he knew that his boy was crushing on her. So that's a part that we're going to have to look at. Those are consequences that we're going to have to look at. Mm-hmm. Philip, tell me, I mean, obviously we're probably going to talk about it more this episode. We're going to go into it a little bit more this episode. But from your perspective, let's talk about bro code. What's going on there? Talk about your feelings, with this whole situation with Bianca.
I mean, because right now, Keith doesn't know what's going on. So as far as he knows, the situation with him and Bianca is still in a very hopeful place. She stayed over at his place. She finally paid him for his art. She gave him the money that she owed him, and they've grown closer over the course of the episode so far. They've become close, and I think when you get close, then the seed of hope is a very strong thing because he's thinking like, hey, this relationship is marinating like a nice rack of ribs, and like soon it'll be ready to go. So when something like this happens, and when Bianca and Omar do what they do, then I think it's definitely going to call into question what the real values are of this friendship, because I'm sure, like I said, gut reaction, what like the good of the group or your own personal good. And right now, gut reaction is, hey, look what this person did to me. So I think that's a very human reaction. If Keith discovers this, then we don't know how it's going to go with their friendship. And I think the code is going to definitely be called into question.
But you know what? You actually made a great point there, Philip, because there's some things that you guys have been doing, you and Bianca, you've been growing in a way that the other guys don't even know about. I wonder if that would have caused any sort of maybe more hesitance for Omar had he known that it was growing closer. So right. I don't know. Do you guys want to add anything?
Well, I think that Omar also, in each friend group, you have a different dynamic. Greg is blunt. He's honest. Mm-hmm. Jarvis has his personality. And as you see Omar and Keith seem to be not closer than Greg and Jarvis, but they're on code. If you pay attention to specifics, we're always on code. We're always looking at each other.
Yeah.
When something happens.
We have
Like,
there's like an
we have
unspoken understanding,
we
almost telepathic.
Omar and Keith have an unspoken language. So Omar also is the same guy out of all of them that would not want to hurt Keith's feelings, would not want to tell Keith something that, because he hopes it goes away. Because that's what usually happens. Things like this usually just go away. You don't even have to say anything, so it's not an issue. Unfortunately, it didn't happen this time. And it could have been anybody. It just so happened to be Bianca at the bar. If it could have been any random person at the bar at that time for Omar, what he needed, he would have been able to get from that person. It just so happened to be Bianca. And that's why that's a part of this show, a huge part of this show, that the goal that Deji and I want is to get people to actually look at Black men as human and try their best to see them from the human element, as opposed to just, he's a dog, he just doesn't want to do good. All those stereotypes that aren't true about us, this is a part of it. This is a huge part of it, because Omar doesn't want to do this. He wants his wife and his kid. But if you're a woman watching this and you see his wife basically saying, I'll see you in court, I don't want to hear you, I don't care about what you want, what else is he supposed to do? He's got to move on somehow, you know what I'm saying? Despite what he wants. So I love the comments. I love the response.
It's a hot topic.
The comments is lit right now.
Yeah, it's complex. You know, you can't judge people just based on single actions. So when Keith goes around karate chopping everybody, then you can't judge him based on that. All right.
I mean, that's honestly that's what I love about our show Johnson, what Deji and Thomas have been just guiding the show, is that, listen, if you have a friendship or a brotherhood that you just always get along and there's never any rifts, then that's like really acquaintances. Family, we're gonna have moments where we get into it, and that's life. And you look over a path of history, friends that have been 8, there's gonna be some things that are gonna have to be worked out, and I love how we're digging into these things.
I love how y'all digging into these things. I love how y'all are digging into these things. Clearly, everyone who's writing in the comments, everyone who's watching the show, they love what you guys are doing as well. I gotta say it again. I'm for Omar. Like, I'm pushing for Omar. I'm pushing for all of y'all. First of all, y'all, I got love, but I'm pushing for Omar because you know what? He tried to sway. He did try to curve Bianca. Y'all gotta admit it. He did try, but then the scene went away, and then when they came back, they're all faced towards each other like, too many drinks, bro. Too many drinks.
Women have a very, very powerful voice, and I don't know if women understand that, but a lot of times, a woman's persuasion and seduction to a man, it's like kryptonite. No matter what the situation is, and I know that it doesn't make any sense to a lot of women, but I'm telling you, from a man's perspective, from this show, Johnson, we're telling you, you have way more power than you could have ever imagined with men. Just know that.
Yes. And Michelle says she loves the writing.
Thank you, Michelle.
We appreciate you guys. Listen, I know that we have another episode coming up tonight. Is there anything that you want to say? Anybody, feel free to throw it out.
Be sure to watch the after show. We have an after show if you want to hear more about what's going on. I think what is it on, guys? It's on the Bounce TV.
It's on Bounce's YouTube channel. And
Bounce
also,
YouTube.
thank you everybody for the support of the show, man. We love you. We appreciate Like, it's incredible, man, for us to be able to put our talents out there, for you all to appreciate it and show love. And listen, thank you so much. Keep watching, though. It gets crazy. Keep watching.
So you guys can absolutely find everything on YouTube as well as Facebook. Just, you guys have done amazing with the show. We'll continue to watch. And for the viewers who are watching, make sure you go to Twitter as always. Make sure that you tweet Johnson on Bounce, and feel free to reach out to the guys. They write back. They love to talk to you guys as well. Thank you again for another successful, fun. I love hanging with you guys. Thanks for another show. And I look forward to the next show next week as well.
Thanks so much, Robin.
Thank
you. Appreciate it.
Man,
we love y'all.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good night.
Absolutely. Come tweet with us.
Yes.